Thank you, Sarah.
Yes, thank you.
During this week's Thursdays at Noon, we're talking about the arts and its connection with the local economy. But first, and most importantly, we acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples and the Huron-Robinson Treaties area. We recognize the long histories of First Nations and Métis people on this land and show respect for them today. We acknowledge our neighbors, the Wata Mohawks, and the First Nations of Moose Deer Point, Shawniga, Wasauksing, Magnetawan, Hemvee Inlet, Nipissing, and Dokies. Miigwech. We here at the Almaguin News, MuskokaRegion.com, and Parry Sound Norsar have dedicated much of our energy this month to try to understand the disconnect between job seekers and businesses. We're calling the initiative Labor Pains. While restaurants have had to limit their business hours without enough staff, employees in the health sector, we're hearing, are working extra long shifts. Today, we are looking at something that may seem a little lighter, but make no mistake about it, it isn't. Today, we're talking about the arts and our economy. The arts, theaters, galleries, publishing, festivals, and markets are tightly connected to the economy. The provincial and federal governments track the arts in relation to GDP and support the sector with funding. Our guests argue that the arts energize communities and drive economies. In August, Minister of Heritage, Sport, Tourism, and Culture Industries Lisa MacLeod announced nearly $2 million in funding for festivals, museums, and libraries within Muskoka, Almaguin, and Parry Sound. At the time, MacLeod said that, and this is a quote, "The industry of heritage, sport, and culture represents $75 billion in GDP in Ontario. I want you to consider this. That's more than the GDP of Manitoba. That's also larger than forestry, mining, and agriculture combined." That's the end of the quote. Those are large numbers, and we can see why. Just look around our communities, and we see the arts attracting visitors and locals alike to concerts, light shows, and art displays. In Almaguin, there's the Burkes Falls Arts Center. If we head south down Highway 11, there's a Huntsville Festival of the Arts, and to the west, we have the Parry Sound Festival of the Sound. Just to name a few, because there are truly too many to name today. Each of these attract visitors, showcase the talents of those who live here, and inspire all who attend. They form partnerships to boost tourism, which supports local retail stores, hotels, restaurants, and coffee shops. Our vibrant artistic community attracts people to move here, if they can find the housing, that is, and keeps those of us lucky to live here. As we come out of the pandemic that has kept individuals physically apart and businesses restricted for so long, we are here to look at the arts in our economy as we recover and grow. Today, we are joined by Anna Brandt, President of the Burkes Falls Art Center, Dan Watson, Executive Director of the Huntsville Festival of the Arts, and Michael Martin, Executive Director of the Parry Sound Festival of the Sound. Each will have a few minutes to speak before we open the floor to guests. Questions can be put into the chat box to the side. You can raise your hand if you can find the button. If it seems appropriate, you can ask to interject, or I can also unmute people and ask people to speak directly. We're going to start with Anne. So Anne, it's all yours.
Thank you, Sarah, and hello, everyone. As Sarah said, I'm the president of the Burkes Falls Art Center, formerly known as the Burkes Falls Art and Club Center. The center is the building, and the club is the organization, and we've been in existence for 70 years. And in fact, if the pandemic hadn't hit, we would have been having a big celebration. The center itself is where we showcase and sell our products. And as Minister MacLeod, and I wasn't aware of all those statistics either, but as was pointed out, the arts are very important to the community. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the arts are the heart of a community. It showcases not only what is of interest to the people as far as activities go, but what's important to them visually and culturally and in many other ways. I know at the center we have a lot of tourists that come in and not only are looking at our products, but they are also gaining information about the community. I know that the center draws visitors to our area. We have had folks that are from all over Ontario, Canada, and from other countries as well that have come into the center. Many of them have cottages in this area, but others are touring through. And of course, as we as our economy right now and the cost of fuel is so high, I think we will see more local tourists and visitors coming through. And as these people come through the areas, there are those that are looking for places to live, places to start businesses, and places to refer others to both of those ideas as well. And knowing that there is a place where they can have their cultural needs met, I think is very important. As important as, although some may disagree, but as important as businesses and shopping and so on.
Nice. Thank you very much, Anna. And Michael, you're next.
Thanks, Sarah. My name is Michael Martin. I'm the Executive Director at Festival of the Sound in Parry Sound, Ontario. The connection between economic development and the arts, especially in regional sectors, is something that's been a high priority for me for a long time, long before I started working here. I started working in Parry Sound back in March of this year. And what was interesting is that I was coming into a 42-year-old established arts organization. And in the town of Parry Sound, and in this region, the Festival of the Sound is one of the big kids. Even though its budget is under $1 million a year, even though we employ 3 people, 4 people, full-time year-round, and some part-timers, we're not a big business as businesses go. But in this geography, in this location, we have a noticeable impact. So what I've become really interested in is how Festival of the Sound can grow beyond being this thing that happens at the Stocky Center for 3 weeks each summer, and have year-round and longer lasting and more sustainable economic impacts for the community as a whole. So part of the reason that I'm really excited to be here today is because I want to hear some input from the community about how that could happen and how those things could occur.
Okay. Yeah, kind of like year-round stuff is something where, Dan, actually you can speak to a lot, because the Huntsville Festival of the Arts does do a lot of year-round stuff. I have tickets to go to the cultural, the Heritage Center now by the high school there later on this month to take my kids to meet Santa and see the light show. So that's a really good segue into you.
Yeah, so my name is Dan Watson. I'm the Executive Director of the Huntsville Festival of the Arts, and it is an organization that has been in existence since 1993. Like Michael, I'm fairly new to my position in that I came on board in summer of 2018 and managed to get through sort of 1 full year of programming before the pandemic hit. So it has been an interesting time to be in the arts, definitely. I've been saying to people that with challenges come opportunities, and that's the way we've been trying to look at things. So, Sarah, you mentioned a new lighting initiative that's happening in the Muskoka Heritage Place. It's a fantastic project that's been put together by a number of community groups and partners, and through the funding of the province of Ontario, as well as what we have now in Huntsville, which is a local accommodation tax, and that's been a wonderful addition. So 30% of that accommodation tax goes towards projects that will put heads in beds, or designed to put heads in beds. So the benefit more visitation, especially in the off season. And so this is one of those things. It's a major attraction that actually utilizes the Muskoka Heritage Place, which is traditionally open between Thanksgiving and the May long weekend. And so it sits dormant, and it's a beautiful spot with these beautiful buildings. Why not use it? And people, the town came on board. And so now there's, I think, literally 18,000 lights that are happening there. They're interactive, so they respond to sound. Because they are funded by the province and the local municipal accommodation tax association, it's been able to be made as very accessibly priced as well. It's open 7 days a week, And so things like that, they see, especially the accommodation folks, they see that it is a benefit, elements like projects like this, where you can bring, I'm really excited about this one in particular because I think it brings the arts and the environment. Our region is really known as a recreation destination, and is not as well known as an arts destination. I think I can't speak for other areas, but I know that Huntsville, our work has traditionally been an added bonus a little bit, I would say, is that, people, it's not maybe the main attraction, but it's the thing that keeps them coming back. And so we've been able to work with different groups, different hotels, different restaurants, different associations, try to couple the arts with the other. So there's more economic spin-offs, both, in the Algonquin Theater, which is our kind of main home, which is run by the town, but also in other venues and sort of site-specific or public spaces as well.
So that accommodation tax, Dan, that you guys have on the Muskoka side, is that all Muskoka or is that Huntsville specific?
That's Huntsville specific. And so it was instituted a couple of years ago, and it basically there's a 4% tax on all hotels that are rented in Huntsville. So you can imagine there's a lot of hotel rooms rented over the year. And then 70% of that is controlled by the town that would go towards different infrastructure or other initiatives the town is running. And then 30% goes to a fund administered by predominantly local hoteliers. So there's 4, and then there's also representation from the BIA, the town, and the local chamber of commerce. So there's the design. It's mandate is to put, as I said, put heads in beds. So it is a bit of a different, it needs to be, if the arts is going to work, like if we are going to get funded by that, then we would need to have an attraction that is going to be a draw to come here, as opposed to, these things can happen something can be a draw and build community at the same time, but there has to be,
it's a very slippery slope, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I've worked on a number of events that were like, okay, this is going to be really great. We're going to get all kinds of tourists here, and it's going to be great for the artists, and it's going to be great for everything, and blah. 2 years later, we're nowhere near hitting the numbers that we need to hit. Funding's running out, patience is running out, and the community has a measure of enthusiasm. And what my experience has taught me, and what I'm gathering what you're getting at as well, is that if something's authentic and organic and is from that place, it has more credibility and is more attractive to people than trying to take, cultural attraction A and put it into slot B.
Mm-hmm.
Are we on the same page there?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I always say the best marketing is good programming. And that it's engaging and something, as you're saying, authentic. I think that's a really important word to use.
Oh, Dan, we lost you. Or at least I can't hear. That's okay. We'll hold that thought for a minute, and I'm very good at continuing to talking, so I will pick it up from there. And I was just wondering, Anna, you guys do more of the art, so you have jewelers and you're a quilter. Are you noticing an increase of people who are coming to your area? Are you hearing from businesses that people are coming to the area looking for what you guys are offering, and they're, say, the person who stops at the coffee shops that goes here due to the pandemic, and people looking for more of those handcrafts and ways to entertain themselves?
Yes, and in fact, although we were only open 2 months this year because of the pandemic, our sales were equal to, if not slightly higher than in other years, because people are not going to other countries, obviously, and it's at home shopping again. Also, because our members are widely known throughout the arts community in other areas, other countries, I believe that draws people in as well.
Yeah, yeah. And how about you, Michael? Are you noticing that people are picking up the phone more and asking about what the events are coming on, or seeing if there are special things coming already? And is that what's kind of partly driving you looking for things that are year-round versus that 3-week window traditionally that it's been?
So two things. One, yes. Two, when I talk about having a more year-round impact, I'm thinking about how this organization can be more than just a presenter of the arts. I'm just leaving that out there. An example of what I'm thinking of has occurred on a place out in Newfoundland called Fogo Island. And if anyone has a chance to Google that, Fogo Island, it's
like
there's
it
some really
sounds,
interesting
right?
stuff happening out there. Big pardon?
Just like it sounds.
Exactly. As for Festival of the Sound, in our current programming environment, we last year I started the job in March, and by the time we actually were putting things on stage in July, we had changed our plans 6 or 7 times, and that was a full, complete change of plan, change of our program, change of marketing, change of everything. So it's been fun. And what we ended up doing last year was we recorded a number of concerts live. And through August and in our last, we had one last night, and our last one is November 30th. We've been presenting these shows online. And while they haven't been as successful as I would have liked to have seen in attracting new people, what's become really clear is that Festival of the Sound, as much as it is about presenting world-class music by world-class artists to a world-class audience, it's really about that audience. You know, it's about those people who come together and see each other every year. That's really what the festival is. And so providing that forum, that online forum where we have a Zoom call beforehand and then we have a Zoom call afterwards where people can see each other and talk to each other, just like they do have every other summer for forever, some of them, and just maintaining that sense of community and really that sense of family. That's been really integral to how we sustain ourselves through
Which will
the
come
last
back
couple of
through
years.
when we can meet again, right? And bring those people back in, and where the restaurant should be ready and everything
Right.
should be in place for like, we're talking about economy, so that comes back to supporting the locals who live here and are looking for it.
In the audience data that we're getting from, we're part of a survey called run by a consultants group called Wolf Brown out of the States. And so they ran a survey, international survey, Europe, North America, Australia, watching audience trends through COVID and audience attitudes. And all of these organizations, there was hundreds of us, surveyed our audiences on a regular basis about what your attitude, how you're feeling about going out to a live show again. So it's been really interesting to see and to watch how those attitudes shift. We are, fingers crossed, looking forward to summer 22, our 43rd season of having live in-person performances in a full stocky center. But we're also planning a couple of contingencies in case that doesn't happen. So.
Nice. We're a few minutes in now, about 20 minutes, and I see that we've been joined by quite a few people. We have Brenda with the Whispering River Orchestra and her staff member, Zach. A couple of my coworkers, some supporters of the other other organizations that are here as well. And I was wondering if anyone, and of course, Donald Sanderson with the West Parry Sound Health Center, or are you here with the Lions? What group are you representing, Donald?
I'm here as the president of Festival of the Sound.
Oh, yes. How did I forget that?
Kathy and I are here, and Henny to support Michael.
Perfect.
Oh,
Perfect.
yeah.
I'm going to get that one down pat one day. I'm going to remember all the organizations you're part of at all times, okay? Okay. So I was wondering if there was anyone else yes, go ahead. Speak, Mr. Brownie.
Hi there.
Hi.
The gentleman just mentioned Fogo Island.
Yeah.
Sure did.
I'm sure. What's the program on today? Because I skipped in late. Is this on music and arts and talents for
Yeah.
the actual Muskoka area?
Parry
It is,
Sound-
yeah. So, hey,
My
I'm
wife,
Mike.
my wife and I are from Newfoundland, and she's actually from Fogo Island.
Is that right?
Yeah,
So you
she's-
know who Zita Cobb is?
Yeah, most definitely. She put it on the map for sure in the last 10
Sure
years
did.
when she built the inn. But yeah,
So-
she's from a community called Parry Islands. Fogo Island is made up of like several different communities, but yeah, they have festivals per community all summer long. And I know from years gone by, my aunts, my uncles, my wife's aunts and uncles, they would get aboard their campers and go visit these festivals individually as each week went by. So yeah, it was part of the culture and the fabric.
What's your name, man?
My name is John Brown.
Hey,
Now,
John and Mike.
I'm from St. John's, but my wife was born and raised on Fogo Island.
So the reason that I mentioned it was because I'm really curious about ways that my organization, Festival to Sound over here in Parry Sound, can take Zita's idea of it's not just about the arts having the economic impact. That, you know, Fogo Island now has a hotel, and it now has a furniture factory, and it now has, you know, all these other things that provide jobs on a year-round basis. So I'm just opening up to ideas about that.
What she's done there, everything inside that inn has been made by the locals. Every bed has a quilt. Every piece of furniture that's in there has been made by local artisans. So she's basically tapped into the actual people on the island and what they do for a living, and kind of put it out there in that way. And the music just comes naturally. It's, you know, it's in our fabric.
So the arts in this case becomes like the main industry in the area, and everything else around it becomes a supporting industry, kind of like a
Most definitely.
or the Coast Guard here in Parry Sound.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand.
That's the way it is in Newfoundland.
Yeah, and Brenda, did you want to say anything? Brenda has been working for a good number of years here in the West Parry Sound area with the Whispering River Orchestra, putting on concerts and teaching children how to play string instruments. It's been amazing.
And we've also been bringing in world-class performers, many of whom sometimes perform at the Festival of the Sound, but our focus has been on getting those people to work with people in the community, and to actually build community with them, to not just do that kind of frontal approach where you come in and present a festival, which is a little bit more commercial, but this is what we're doing is really empowering the community with what we do. And so, for example, we'll bring in people from the Toronto Symphony, or people from the ballet, or people from very well-known orchestras or freelance artists. We work with top-of-the-line composers. We commissioned 3 works. We had Alan Torok, Saman Shahid, Caroline Weaver, all writing for us during the pandemic. We printed their works. We had them come in. We brought in performers who gave clinics for local performers, and then we performed it. And we did it all on our outdoor stage. And Martin, I think I met you once before, but I want to extend again. It's a great little stage. People are always amazed at how good it is, even though it's outdoors, and you are welcome to use it. It's how we kept performing all through the pandemic. We also ran, because I'm a Newfie too. Where's my Fogo Island guy? I'm from Gander. So I left when I was young, but I still have that spirit about me. And I tried to work, as did your friend, with, I held business in the arts circles. So the mayor I was getting not as enthusiastic a response from Parry Sound as I was from Seguin. So the mayor of Seguin came, and we held 3 arts circles for businesses in the arts, and we used the microeconomy. We looked at what people were doing, just as you were saying, in the community. We invited them to be part of our every concert. Every time we held a clinic, we had them there, the craft tables there, or people coming and speaking, and we talked together about how we could survive as artists, what artists could do. And I always had an artist who was the representative for that particular meeting. So there was very lively and powerful discussion. And we tried to have artists from the area who had names. We had Catherine Wheatley, we had, a whole bunch of people. But a lot of classical people also, because I'm a cellist and a composer. So we worked a lot that way. And it was, I just did a presentation for Orchestras Canada actually on what we did, because it was highly, highly successful. And it just has, you know, it's taken us 7 years to get to this place where we're kind of actually able to engage. And I think Sarah's sick of writing articles on us, but we so appreciate it. And we have some really great young talent coming along, but it's all about what's going on here and what's happening locally. And
Brenda, you're also managed to attract people to live here. So I did an interview just a little while ago with a woman who moved to her cottage and decided that, hey, she was going to stay here because she could work with her organization, which is something that
there's a number of them.
Area municipalities.
Well, I'm shamelessly riding on my reputation as that crazy cellist, and God knows what she's going to do next. But I do have friends who are just kind of coming here. I don't, Martin, I have reached out to you, and I continue to reach out to you if you ever want to talk about working in some way with us, because I think what we're doing is kind of apples and oranges, but still both very high caliber. We often subscribe and send people to hear what's going on at the Festival of the Sound when it's happening, and we certainly share many members. But
so when have we met? When did we meet? Because I sort of know you, and I've been wanting to meet you.
I think we met at several concerts. Well, so. I introduced myself to you at several concerts, and I'd be happy to sit down and talk. But we are a going concern. We don't have the same budget as you do, but we do have a budget, and it makes sense for us to work together.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So on that note, we'll let you guys take that extended conversation offline. Glad we could get the face-to-face here in our 1980s TV show, children's TV show. I just need a little mirror that says, I see this person. Is there any other members who are here today, or anyone else would like an opportunity to comment? We are talking about the arts and the economy. And so far we're hearing that it's bringing people here. It's getting people to live here year round. It's funding the economy that for so long has been based on snowmobiling and ice fishing and the hunting industry and some industries that we have as well. Anyone else? Donald.
Sarah, sorry I came in late, but was there any discussion in terms of quantifying the economic contribution to the communities?
No, I did reference the GDP that the Ontario Minister of I wanted to say health because that's where I go with you, but tourism and all that. I did reference that, but no, I didn't get into too much depth about how that's quantified. That'd be lovely if you could address it.
Well, I don't have that on my, but it is something that we need to talk about, I think, to educate. Well, I need to be educated about it, updated, and I don't think we can talk about it too much in terms of when we talk about our product, about the contributions we make are significant to quality of life, to health, but also certainly to the economy, and it's all tied together.
Yeah, and Dan, I feel like Huntsville you seem to have a better draw on that one, giving your experience on that side. Is that something you can address?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways, and as Donald just mentioned, I'm struck by that the arts are constantly called upon to kind of, show the economic impact of what they do. And those are hard numbers. But there is, as Donald just mentioned, a quality of life, enhancing the quality of life. And that's a really hard thing. Like, how do you put a number on that? So I know that the Ministry of Tourism does have this handy calculator. It's called the Tourism, the TREAM model, Ministry of Tourism. So you can input your numbers and, your audience numbers and how long they stayed. And if you got that data, you can get really into it. And, the Festival of the Arts, I mean, a couple of years ago, we were, I think around, based on that calculation, there was like an $8 million kind of impact. It's
really $8 million
according to that calculation, right?
Wow.
So but I mean, it's shrank considerably, obviously, since the pandemic, if we're going by that. However, I would say that it is also important is to say, well, what is the benefit of, you know, the community, like as Michael has said, to come together every year to share this communal experience together, to see each other, to feel good, to feel like belonging, to feel to be stimulated creatively, to have your imagination, as Brenda is doing too, to teach. But those are all things that are really hard to quantify, right? How do you put that into numbers? And in some ways, I know that it's important that the arts does that, but I think it's also important that we, as artistic leaders, keep talking about that, of not having to always put it in the context of the hard numbers, like there is, and that might be, you know, through surveys, through getting people to talk about their experiences and how important it is, all of those things. But it's a really something that I think is to keep in mind always, and we're always mindful of it as well.
Can I jump in on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Dan references every arts administrator's favorite piece of software, the TRIB calculator. And it's a handy tool. I find it more useful. There are a number of different metrics by which these things are assessed. And sometimes it's like every dollar invested in the arts equals $5 into the broader economy, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the sort of mindset. And it's an important thing to be able to go to the bean counters with. It's an important thing to be able to go to councils with and political authorizers with, to say, here's that. Sometimes, you know, what I find more useful, though, from my perspective, and informing those arguments and creating a more accurate picture overall, is to think of it in terms of three things. There's the direct employment, because that's really, at the end of the day, we're talking about jobs. We're talking about people getting paid to do things. There's the direct employment, which is the people who work in this office. There's the indirect employment, which would be the artists that we hire, the money that we spend in marketing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then there would be the induced employment, which would be the restaurants, the hotels, the heads and beds, as Dan was saying, and those sorts of things. So if it's really important to put it in terms of, and I was impressed with Minister McLeod, because she seems to understand this, that the arts is not just about, you know, putting beautiful music on a stage for wonderful people to enjoy. It's about making sure the technical director of the theater can pay his mortgage and put food on the table for his family, that sort of thing. So it's really important that, and I'm seeing this kind of, this sort of power structure gradually break down. It used to be really polarized, I think, in terms of like, you got your sports, you got your arts, that's about it. And I'm seeing those walls start to come down, which is nice. The arts are no longer being seen as commonly as merely a luxury that rich people enjoy or something like that. So that's good. And as we expand our definition of, you know, as what Brenda's talking about, and into the community, and having those really important community ties, because the arts are also a great equalizer. The talent and the ability to enjoy the work, regardless of what it is, does away with socioeconomic class. It does away with those barriers that we sort of import into our society. So yeah. I'm getting a little more esoteric here, but what I see happening is the opportunity to show that these economic arguments that we're making really have very solid social underpinnings. And one of the things that they taught me in business school is to think of the triple bottom line. So there's the financial bottom line, which we all know. And there's now what we're thinking more and more about is the sustainability, or an environmental or an ecological bottom line, also very important. But there's also the social bottom line. And when we can show impacts on all three of those bottom lines, then we know we have something that's really meaningful, that's sustainable, and something that's going to be around for a long time.
And I wonder if on that note, Anna, if we can bring you in, because a lot of you do quilting, you have art members that do who are painters and crafters and such like that. So for a lot of your members, the arts are a small business that are either totally fund their lives or are like a side hustle kind of thing for them as well, right?
Yes, yes, that's true. And it's probably, and I'm saying this from a personal point of view, having nothing, no knowledge what it's like to be a musician or that type of thing. But I find that as an artist, it's probably more difficult to make a profit because you can't charge what your work is worth. But because you want others to enjoy it, then that really is part of our income. My quilts, I love making them, but they don't do much good sitting in a cupboard. So that is one of my goals, is to have people use the product and enjoy it. And I would say that's probably very true for Brenda with her cello and the Festival of Sound with the music and so on. The bottom line is good, but we also want to help people's quality of life as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's equally important.
Yeah, and that's what keeps people here, right? Those are the arts. So I kind of feel, I don't know, I'm an 80s baby, so I was going in high school. I don't, what is that math? I'm obviously a writer, not a mathematician, but, mid to late 90s. And I kind of feel at that time there was a walk away from the arts, that they were cutting the funding in the schools, which I would think may decrease the people working in the arts fields. But keeping in mind,
we're seeing that again now.
Pardon?
We're seeing that again now.
Yeah.
With the current government.
Yeah, and of course, working in these fields aren't just the people who are doing the painting, aren't just the people playing the musicians, just aren't people that are managing it and coming up with creative ideas for these shows. It's also, you got your people that are hanging the lights. You have the people who are driving people around. You have the people who are taking the tickets from people as well. So can you guys maybe talk about the broader industry of the arts that isn't just like the people that we're seeing on the screen or the people that we see up on the stage?
I want to hear more from Anna. I feel like I'm talking too much.
That was when you were asking. When you were asking the question, Sarah, I was kind of half thinking of what other industries are affected by the arts, as the art center produces, and so it's not just the artists themselves that are having an income, but it's the people that make the paints and the easels and the frames, and in my case, vast amounts of fabric and the machines and so on. So I think we have quite an impact on the business community, the manufacturers. If the arts community wasn't there, I think there'd be quite an impact on those that do manufacturing, and I don't think that that's something that's considered.
Yeah. Michael, Dan, do you guys want to look to that?
Yeah, I could speak also pandemic wise. It has been a real struggle for performing artists in particular, and for one of the things we're struggling a little bit right now is technical production. Many folks have moved on to other things, and they had to put bread on the table. Of course, they have to. So it's been a real impact that way. And I think, maybe people don't necessarily think about what the other roles and people that go in, that work on a show. I mean, the Algonquin Theatre has only just recently come back online. The technical director there has only just been rehired. So things are slowly coming back, and it's gonna be tough. I think. I mean, I think there's an appetite right now for people to go to live events because they've been missing it. But as you can see, numbers are creeping up again, and so it's a real challenge, and so that has a ripple effect across many different sectors, I would say.
Yeah.
I
Brenda,
was,
comment. Michael, do you want to go first though, and then we'll go over to Brenda?
Michael, go first.
Sure. I'm just thinking, I mean, in terms of the basic economics of it, the options are, we either, in performing arts, you either sell more seats or you sell fewer seats for more money. And if we have fewer seats, it's not clear that it's finding that sweet spot where people who really want to be there and really ought to be there can still afford to be there. We don't want to make this some sort of rarefied experience that only a select few can enjoy. So it's finding that balance to sustain yourselves. We are, I have to hand it to both the provincial and federal governments for stepping up in the short term with some pretty realistic funding strategies and mechanisms. Over the long term, I don't think those are going to be sustainable. I don't think those are going to be there through the next year. So it's coming into crunch time now as we still face an uncertain planning environment and some volatility there. How we kick this ball down the field. It's one thing to be kicking the ball down the field. It's another thing when the goalposts keep moving.
Yeah.
So it's a dynamic planning environment is the best way that I can say it.
Okay.
We're working with it.
Brenda, we have 3 minutes formally left, and I still have to give each of our guest speakers
Go ahead.
to talk. So, okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I concur with Michael that we've been very fortunate to get funding also. Recently got not anything near what you did, Michael, but 50,000 from Trillium, Resilient Communities Fund, and various other funds have been helping us. But I've been very, I'm like a broken record. What are we going to do to survive? That's why I'm working so carefully with the microeconomy in Seguin and in Parry Sound, and why I've been really taking this time. Michael, we normally have a fairly even division between performing and education, but I've been focusing on building community. That's been my whole thing, because in the long run, it's my community that's going to support me. My job as an artist, and I have always felt this, I don't feel any less for it. I've got 6 CDs out, I've got lots of records, but my job as an artist is to serve my community. My job is not to get my community to go, oh, you're wonderful. My job is to serve my community. And we've been focusing on that with all the people we bring in, and it's really serving us in good stead. And the only last thing is check out our geodesic dome. That's how we're going to survive when all the public buildings shut down again.
Perfect. Now, I do need to start wrapping this up. A couple people did join us in the last 5 minutes or so, so I'll give one more opportunity if anyone who hasn't been asked to speak would like to speak. Just unmute your mic, turn on your camera so we can see you. Going once, going twice. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone. Did I miss anyone? Did anyone see anyone come on? No? Okay, perfect. All right, then we are going to start wrapping up today's edition of Thursdays at noon by giving each of our 3 invited guests an opportunity just for some parting thoughts. Last time we ended with Dan, so do you want to start with Dan, and then we'll put Michael in the middle again, and we end with Anna this time.
Sure. So I want to thank everybody for the discussion. It's as Michael says, it's always great to have this discussion and to hear different thoughts, and I've really actually enjoyed hearing from our friends in Parry Sound. We don't maybe we don't connect as much as we should, so that's it's been nice. A lot has been said, and so I'm just really excited to hear about what the artistic practitioners here are doing, and the way things are moving forward, and in the face of all the challenges, and that I look forward to seeing how the arts are going to flourish in our community and continue to do so. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Dan. It was a pleasure to have you here. Michael?
Thanks. Congratulations to Metroline Media and for the individual papers for setting this up. It's not a thing that I would have anticipated when I moved here, that we would have in my first year a town hall forum on something like this. And thanks everyone who has shown up today for participating and for your attention to all this. If there are cultural sector workers out there, if there are people who are making things out there, I would advise you to go to the workinculture.ca website. They have a number of online webinars. I've delivered a number of webinars for them on business skills, on marketing skills, those things. And they do it in a way that it comes from artists speaking to other artists. It's not a business person saying, you got to do this. Yeah. So that's a really good resource. There's some other ones as well. By all means, reach out to me, contact me directly if you're interested in any of this stuff. In terms of where we go from here, I'm really interested in seeing how the changing demographics that we're experiencing as people move up from the city to the cottage full-time, et cetera, what sort of lasting impacts that's going to have on our local economy. I think it bodes well for the cultural sector generally. I think it bodes well, particularly for boards of directors and for that governance and for that leadership piece that is so integral for a successful and thriving cultural sector. Parry Sound is a town of 7,000 people, and I've worked Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, et cetera, large cities, and this is the best board of directors I've ever had in this small little community. So
now you're gunning for a raise. We know it.
Yeah, I do the budgets now. But the point is an organization at the end of the day is only as good as the people who are running it and the people who are governing it and making those decisions. So having really strong governance and really strong leadership is going to be key for our sector. So if there are any young people out there or anyone who has volunteered with an arts organization, start thinking about what skills you have that you can provide to help lead that organization into the future.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. Anna, last word to you. Well, I'm going to take the last word, but last invited guest word to you.
Thanks, Sarah, and thanks for doing this. And it's good to connect with everybody, which is my closing thought. It would be nice if there was a central body, a central organization, a central website or whatever, where all the artists and art organizations can be in contact and share information, share encouragement, and perhaps, as a union does, speak with one strong voice when it comes time for funding, talking to the governments, and just keeping our contribution to not only the economy but to our society as a whole in the forefront of political discussion. So if I'm retired and prefer to keep moving in that direction, but if there's anybody that can facilitate that, I would certainly be very happy to be part of it. And thank you again, Sarah.
So the gauntlet has been dropped for Parry Sound-Muskoka Arts Union. There you go. You guys that know anything about that, that's for you guys.
And we would volunteer an arts page for that. In fact, many groups already use us. So if you want to join us, Anna, please go ahead.
Perfect. Okay, so on that note, we're going to sign off today. We have gone over a few extra minutes, which speaks to the importance of this topic and how much there is to look at. And I believe that we probably could have taken another 6 hours on each of those little sub issues that we got to. Next week, we're going to be wrapping up the Metroland newspaper Parry Sound-Muskoka project on labor pains, and we're going to be having representatives from the local employment resource centers in Parry Sound, Muskoka, and Almaguin here to speak about it. It's that the same link, the same time. I'll be here, but it will be managing editor Pamela Steele who will be taking the lead on it. And with that, thank you very much, everybody. I really enjoyed it, and we'll chat later. Goodbye.
Thanks for doing it, Sarah.
Thanks so much,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye.
Bye all.